Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Worlds. I'm super excited for this predictions. Let's go ahead, just get right into it. We've got the play-in stage leading into the main stage. Also got a 1v1. This is partially filled out. I wasn't ready for that. But yeah, we've got these beautiful new graphics. Shout out to Pyro for making all these images. I know he's cooking up some stuff for our top 20 as well. I think we're going to be using a lot of these logos. Then, of course, massive shout out to Cody VRL for putting this all together. You can follow him on Twitter. He doesn't brag about this much, but he also has a creator code in Epic. It's Cody VRL. I'm pretty sure that's still active. So if you're buying anything, then use that. But let's get right into it. So the play-in teams, we've got 4 teams for the LCQ, and then the 13th through 16th seeds based on points and region placements at the previous major. So your 13th seed is Gen.G. Your 20 seed, which is technically the LCQ4 seed, South America's LCQ, is MIBR. For those who don't know who MIBR is, because they haven't actually signed this team yet. This is the former Corinthians roster of Drops, Raisbull, and Brad. I'm actually really excited for MIBR to come into the scene. It sounds like they're going to be doing a 1-year deal with these guys, which is absolutely massive. This is a pretty big org. I know they're in the Valorant system and plenty of other esports. That being said, Gen.G versus MIBR, I have to go with Gen.G here. I'm going to give them a 3-1. I don't think this team is terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but I think Gen.G is just kind of a level above. They're definitely my favorite out of the non-LCQ teams in this play-ins bracket. Rock versus Foot. I could see this going either way. I'm going to be honest, I didn't have much respect for Foot until they ended up actually winning a Game 5 against Virtus Pro at EWC. It really depends on which version of Team Rock we get, though, because this team has been wildly inconsistent. They are either reverse sweeping Twisted Minds and making the finals like they did in Open 5, or they are going out in groups. They went out in groups twice in Split 2, which they made a finals in the event that they didn't go out in groups, and of course they won the LCQ. So it really depends on which version of Rock shows up. I'm going to give them the win. Of course, it has to be in 5 because there's something about Spanish players and making it as dramatic as possible and then losing in Game 5. So Foot goes down there. Rebellion versus Virtus Pro. I like this Virtus Pro roster a lot. They are coming off a pretty bad event where they lost to Foot. And despite liking Virtus, I don't see a team like Rebellion having I can't say that. I don't know if they have a floor low enough where they'd actually lose this match. They would probably make it cinematic. I've got enough faith in them. I'll give them the 3-1 victory here. No sweeps in this house. This one could definitely go the other way, depending on if we get, Rebellion versus Gas or Rebellion versus the boys. Ninjas TSM. You'll notice Gentlemates is not here. They did not win the LCQ. That was probably the biggest surprise of everything. Instead, we have Job Security, Radosin, and it would be so fun to be bold here and predict TSM. I genuinely kind of want to. That being said, I'm going to bet on Job Security, Radosin just a little bit more. I'll give it 2 because I want that to be close. And if Ninjas don't show up in the same form that they won the LCQ in, then I could definitely see it. But yeah, I'm not confident enough in TSM right now, unfortunately, to predict them over a European 5 seed, technically. Let's get into the lowers first. I don't know which days all of these are going to be played on. I believe all of these should be on the 9th for sure. But in terms of these 6 matches, I think they're going to be split in between the 9th and the 10th. Maybe they're all on the 10th. I don't really know at this point. MIBR and Foot, same kind of story. I know Foot is, they're coming off the Virtus Pro win. They tend to play it close. I'm going to give the respect to the South America team. Not 5 this time, but I got MIBR taking care of business. Virtus Pro and TSM. As much as I'd love to predict TSM here, I have a very hard time making Virtus Pro go out 0-2. Not only that, Sphinx is the APAC killer. He is undefeated against APAC, including 2 wins over Wildcard and 1 win over Chiefs. I think he'll collect his next OCE Infinity Stone. Did I say he was the APAC killer? He's the OCE killer. 3-1. No sweeps. Gen.G versus Rock. This one, I'm going to be honest, I'm still favoring Gen.G a lot. I think Gen.G is that team that I said before Raleigh that there were 8 teams I could see, or there were 11 teams I could see making a top 8. Gen.G was included in that. I think these guys are very much outside looking in nowadays, but I think they should be strong enough to still get past Rock. I'll give Rock the respect of a Game 5, but it's going to Gen.G. And then Rebellions versus Ninjas. This could be a lot of fun. I feel like, again, I'm going to predict another game 5 because I will be fun about it. But it's got to go to Ninjas here. If I predicted Rebellion here, it'd be a little bit too NA-pilled. That being said, if both North American teams come out of this bracket, it's not impossible, and I think we'll be on top of the world despite it not meaning all that much to win the first 2 seeds out of play-ins. So I'll give it to Ninjas. This also sets up for something later. Rock versus Virtus. I'll start here. This, I still can't actually give it to Virtus. I'm sorry. I'll give it to Rock. I know they're shaky in groups, and if they lose up here, there's a chance they lose down here if they're in like open 4 or open 6 form. But I've got faith in them to be a little bit stronger than that. I'll let them mean a 3 seed through. And then this is the one where I'm going to have a little bit of fun with Rebellion versus MIBR. This is kind of a tale as old as time where it's an elimination match in between Reddles and Raze Bowl. And as much as I think Rebellion is probably the better team, I can't bet against it. 3-2. MIBR beat Rebellion. It's just happened time and time again. Like, how many times has specifically, like, it's been Reddles and Raze Bowl? Like, obviously the most recent thing that comes to mind is FIFA E. Obviously the Space Station versus Complexity tiebreaker way back in the day. It's just, it would be very North America for Rebellion to almost actually take down Ninjas here, lose in heartbreaking fashion, and then get eliminated here. So I think everyone will be excited for Gen.G making it out of this group, despite the fact that it's not super challenging, but we need a little bit of North America hesitancy and pumping the brakes before we get too overhyped. And unfortunately, Rebellion is kind of the sacrifice for that to happen. As we get into the main events, though, I did something wrong because I didn't expect it to be like this. I didn't expect this to be the bracket. I thought it would be Rock and MIBR switched, actually. So, because I know the 4 seed coming out of the play-ins should be facing off against Karmine Corp, and based on the seeding that they go into it, I believe MIBR is the lowest seed. So I'm maybe catching this in real time. I don't know for sure. I might just be speaking complete lies right now, but there's a chance that these 2 series or these 2 teams are going to be switched in the bracket should it play out exactly like this. That being said, let's roll with it. Karmine Corp, I'll give it a 3-0. I think they'll be strong enough against Rock at least, and MIBR. If this was MIBR switched here, I'd have a 3-0 as well. Geek versus Ultimates. We saw this at EWC. It went Geek's way. I was a little bit surprised by that result, but all of Geek's results surprised me at EWC, except for the finals. Ultimates, I want to have faith in them. I feel like something's a bit broken. I'm going to have it be a little bit closer this time, but I'm going to give it to the power of friendship in Geek. Dignitas versus Gen.G. What I thought the groups would pan out like does match this matchup here. But Dignitas has a very comfortable matchup over this Gen.G squad. I'll give it a 3-1. This is the first sweep I predicted, by the way. But I'll give it a 3-1, so it's not a complete beatdown. And Gen.G will have had a few series to warm up, but this should be digs to take. And then Furia Wildcard. Oh boy, I have not that much good to say about either of these teams right now. But Furia should be handling this pretty easily. Let's jump over to Group B. I know these matches and these matches, according to what limited graphics we've seen, are taking place on September 11th. As for the rest of this group, I have no idea what day all these matches are taking place. Falcons versus MIBR. This actually might be Team Rock based on if my version of the seeding is right. Either way, I'll give it a 3-0. I mean, they pretty comfortably beat Rock in their own region more often than not. Vitality Space Station get the popcorn, but not for the upset. Space Station's going to get 1 game this time. Hopefully not be losing 16-2. And this is just a brutal pull if we're going to be honest, for SSG. I don't think they're super bad, and I think we'll talk about them later for sure. NRG versus Ninjas. I feel like there could be some people concerned, but I don't think NRG has had much problems against the lower seeded EU teams. I don't think they faced Gentlemates in Raleigh. I know they faced Geek and handled them. They've lost to Vitality and Karmine Corp multiple times this season. I don't think they've played Dignitas at all, actually. But I think they'll be able to handle Ninjas. I'll give it a 3-1 because no sweeps, except for this apparently. Twisted versus Secret. I'm hyped for this match. Twisted's trending down a little bit since Raleigh. They obviously had a really good Raleigh performance that impressed me, but then they lost to SSG at EWC. They also did not look competitive against Vitality at EWC, despite that series being relatively close most of the times we've seen it this season. Meanwhile, Secret is still on a run. They lost to Karmine Corp, but they also avenged their loss against Gen.G. And, I mean, that means they didn't face Dignitas, though. So we didn't actually get to see them against the best of competitions. They also scraped by against Wildcard. This should be going to Twisted. I'll let it be close. It's not impossible Secret upsets here, but Twisted, I think, just does have the higher ceiling for this. Let's drop it to lowers. Why don't we? Rock Ultimates. More Mina orgs to face off against. I'm giving this to Ultimates, though. I'll give Rock one game, but Ultimates should be winning that with a lot of comfortability. I don't think any play-in 4 seed that gets put into this quadrant is winning a game, unfortunately. I mean, GK just made a finals. Ultimates has made a finals this year. Karmine is Karmine. Gen.G wildcard. If you guys struggle here, I will be beyond disappointed. No sweeps. No sweeps. They'll get a game. MIBR Space Station. My personal opinion is that this was going to be Rock. I'll give it a 3-1 as well. But this should be Space Stations pretty comfortably. And then Ninjas and Secret. That's actually a closer matchup than I thought it was going to be. Genuinely, I forgot it was going to be Ninjas here. That being said, Secret did dispatch of mates. And I know that Ninjas also dispatched of mates. But I think Secret's a slightly more informed team here. I'll give it 3-2. I'll let it be in the clutch. It'll be exciting. But Ninjas get taken out. All right, upper semifinals. We're going to start off with a bang. I kind of held these for a little bit because I have some opinions here. Y'all aren't going to like this. I got Geek upsetting here. A large part of this is power of Friendship Ball. The lack of expectations on Geek. They always perform when no one's expecting anything of them. And despite the fact that they just made the finals, I don't think people are expecting them to beat Karmine Corp. This would not be the first time that Karmine Corp has lost to a team that they just beat in the finals the land prior. Remember, Ultimates beat them in Raleigh, basically in this exact position. I'm going to predict the exact same thing. I think GK will just have a lot less pressure. It'll feel a little bit too real for Karmine, and they'll just end up slipping up a little bit too early. I know that's not going to be popular. I'm sticking with it. Dignitas Furia. Listen, Dignitas, I've had my gripes with their brackets all year. If you go back and watch the predictions for Europe, I'm always complaining that they get the easiest route. They've gotten the easiest route again. I don't have much faith in Furia to do anything right now. I'm going to be honest. I say no sweeps. That could easily be a sweep. Dignitas, I do respect you guys as a team, especially after making finals. I don't think you're terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but you also have a very, very favorable path to the top 6, and you should be thanking whoever drew this up for you because it's pretty good for a 4 seed. Yeah, Fury is the 5 seed. They're not acting like a 5 seed right now. They got bailed out to the 5 seed because Secret outperformed expectations. Let's run over here. Second upset of the I don't know. I mean, technically it's an upset. I'm predicting Vitality over Falcons here. I know a lot of people are going to say that K-Corp and Falcons are the best 2 teams in the world. But we have seen Vitality start off every single tournament looking like one of the favorites. They always look super strong. I think they 3-0'd both Swiss stages. They 3-0'd in Birmingham. They 3-0'd in Raleigh. Once they got to the playoffs, it was a different story. Obviously, NRG cannot face Vitality very well. Vitality keeps beating them up. Ultimates ended up taking down Vitality, and then they were taken down by Furia and Birmingham as well. But start of the tournament, Vitality is one of the best teams, if not the best team in the world on the day. And so I'll have them taking down Falcons here. NRG Twisted, it'll be Cinema again, but I'm going to give it to the team that's always seemed to be taking it. Should be NRG's. Furia Ultimates, we saw this EWC. I keep reiterating that I'm not impressed by Furia, despite the fact that I'm a little bit hesitant on Ultimates as well. First killer against Furia was super inspiring. I think this is a great bracket to work out if you're Ultimates. You would much rather be in this position, in my opinion. Although, dropping out to face Gen.G also isn't terrible. So I think despite the fact that Ultimates could easily lose this first match, I like their odds to the top 8 just because of the strength of the other teams in this group. Karmine Corp Gen.G, listen, guys. Listen. What am I supposed to do? I'm sorry. You're welcome to prove me wrong, but this is just an unfortunate draw for you guys. Twisted Space Station. A lot of people consider it an upset that Twisted ended up losing to Space Station at EWC, but if SSG can take these guys down with the home crowd against them, I'm going to have them taking them down Leon as well. These guys are ramping up under the LAN lights. Hope they continue doing that. It's a matchup they've proved that they can win before. I'll have them going out and win it again. And Secret, same kind of deal here. Like, you might be a top 8 team in the world, but you're not beating Falcons. That's just a brutal draw. I'll give you one game because you've played them twice this year and gotten one game both times. All right, let's go to the playoffs. GK, NRG, Vitality, Falcons, or Vitality Dignitas, sorry. Ultimates, Falcons, Space Station, Karmine. This works out where it's 4 EU, 3 NA, 1 MENA. That's the exact lineup that we had in 2023 Worlds. Fun fact. NRG versus GK. Power of Friendship Ball is pretty strong, but I've talked about how NRG has been able to deal with GK a decent amount. So I am going to give this one to GK. I'm going a little bit backwards. I think these matches are played first. But I'll just cover Saturday and then I'll get into Sunday. Vitality Dignitas. Vitality does have a Dignitas problem, and until they can really prove that they can win that matchup, I'm going to go with Dig. I know it's the French crowd, but Vitality kind of capitulates when it comes to playoffs, and I am giving it to Dignitas in a very close series here. Let's pause for 1v1. I know I'm just doing this a little bit backwards, but this is normally where the 1v1 fits in, 2 series into the playoffs. We got Moxie versus Nubu. I think it's Nobu. Not Naupo, but everyone says Naupo because we're still used to it. It's got, like, listen, it's got to be Moxie on the home crowd. I'll give it Neo Tokyo, but that's it. Moxie is going to take the 1v1 in front of his nation because it's a little bit scripted. And then Ultimates Falcons. I want to put a lot of respect on Ultimates here, but they haven't shown me enough. I'm going to give it 4-1. It's been sweeps the entire season, but one of them was a sweep for Ultimates. Then it was a sweep by Falcons and another sweep by Falcons at EWC. I'll give it 4-1 because we are in a best of 7. Ultimates will get the timeout game. That's it. Space Station Karmine. I'll give this Neo Tokyo. But if I predict Space Station here, I'm going to be called out for being the most biased person of all time. And despite the fact that I don't think it's impossible these guys win it, and I know I'm saying that's good. I know who I'm saying that against. I'm not going to give it to them. So on to Championship Sunday of the World Championship. This is September 14th. I am excited for this day for sure. I think we start out here with Vitality Karmine. Having this be a top 6 matchup is absolutely crazy. But having this kick off Championship Sunday would fill up the venue rather quickly. I know that Vitality is not beating Karmine since Farah was on Vitality. That was the last time it happened. It was Zen 2023, like Prime Zen as we're talking about. It's one thing that gets talked about a lot, and I know Belair brings it up a decent amount, but pressure and confidence are probably the most important things, more so than who's necessarily like the better team. And when it comes to needing to stay composed, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure, especially on these two teams playing in front of a French crowd. That being said, I think that Vitality's slightly better suited to handle that pressure. And that's going to be a dislike to take, especially considering Vitality can't seem to beat Karmine. I said Vitality has a Dignitas issue. I know they have a Karmine Corp issue too. But I think Karmine Corp is just going to get too far in their heads. It's going to be Championship Sunday. There's going to be too much on the line, and they're not going to be able to deliver. So I got Vitality taking out Karmine Corp. Yeah, let me know. Let me know. I know you're letting me know already. Falcons GK. I'm not doing that to the other tournament favorite. I'll give GK the one game out of the Power of Friendship, but that should be going Falcons' way. We've got some familiar matchups in the semifinals. Honestly, kind of feeds into these storylines that we've had for not necessarily rivalries, but like trends that we've seen across the season. We've seen a lot of Falcons versus Dignitas. I think Dignitas took one game against them in Birmingham, and then they took one game against them in Raleigh. The difference is that Falcons took 3 against them in Birmingham and 11 against them in Raleigh. I'll have this being a 4-1, though. It's Dignitas has a Falcons problem, so that'll continue. And then NRG versus Vitality. NRG is probably thanking their lucky stars that they've gotten this bracket so far, where it's Ninjas, Twisted, DK. Like, those are all very winnable matchups, and they're lucky to not be facing off against a Karmine Corp type team here. Dignitas is the higher seed. They're the lower seed. So, oh, no, because Vitality is... NRG is the higher seed. Duh. NRG over Vitality is not a match. I almost did it. I'm only giving it Neo Tokyo. It just hasn't all season, and I won't dare predict it in front of a French crowd. I'm sorry, guys. I don't see it happening here. And so I've got a Falcons Vitality rematch in the finals. We saw it earlier up here. I gave it to Vitality. You guys know what I think about rematch theory, despite we didn't see it pan out too well in Raleigh. I think Falcons are probably the most informed team. I'm going to give it to them. Vitality hasn't been able to show up big time yet. Not predicting a Game 7 because we can't have fun, unfortunately. But I will predict the Raleigh Major Champions taking home another trophy and Team Falcons being lifted onto Champions Field. I'm surprised at how much I'm predicting Falcons lately, especially in the LAN tournaments. I know I predicted them to win Worlds last year in my initial predictions. I'm not doing the whole initial and after predictions for Worlds. This time we didn't know the group, so it would have been difficult. But yeah, that's who I got. 1v1s taken by Moxie, of course. And yeah, these are the final placements for everyone. Hopefully it's a fun World Championship. Again, shout out to Pyro and Cody V for putting this all together. This is a beautiful sheet. A lot of fun. I'm excited for the end of the season and appreciate you guys watching. Shout out to channel members. Really appreciate the support. I know I've been a little bit slower on the content. That's not a permanent thing. Trust me, I'm working to get back out there, and I'm excited for the off season and the whiteboard videos that'll come with that. So thank you all for watching. I've rambled on, taken up enough of your time, and I will catch you guys the next time you let me decide to take over your time. Adios, everyone.